Is there a communist takeover in the works for the United States? And is the Democratic Party the vehicle to do it? Well, one prominent Democrat is sounding the alarm, and we should all take heed. But before we get into this story, please like, share, and comment at Explain America. We appreciate your support for common sense journalism. Now, when the Democrats in their own party are concerned about the radical leftists who are trying to engage in what one person is calling a communist takeover, well, we need to sit up and pay attention, because Democratic Senator John Fetterman is saying that's exactly what's going on, and he dropped a truth bomb about a Senate race that has been turned upside down. Of course, we're talking about the Maine Senate race and the bid to take out Susan Collins, who is a moderate Republican. The governor there, Janet Mills, she dropped out suddenly, claiming a lack of campaign resources, and we have to wonder exactly about what that means. And so now an eccentric candidate named Graham Plattner, who is said to have a Nazi tattoo and who has even blamed women for being rape victims. I mean, this is the lowest of the low we're talking about. He is trying to take a bid for the Maine Senate seat. And, well, John Fetterman, he sounded the alarm. Let's take a look.
How big of a threat do you think this communist movement is?
Well, I mean, there's that phrase where terrible or bad ideas refuse to die. And it's very sad to see that kind of things being revisited in this kind of way. And a lot of these, these terrible groups like Code Pink and a lot of the other ones that are strongly aligned to the CCP, without a doubt, they're being financed. I mean, it's ironic. I mean, these kinds of protests are being funded by billionaires against billionaires. I mean, I don't know if they realize the irony in many of those things right now. And now there is kind of a small communist takeover in Maine. Plattner, he's already announced that he's an avowed communist. He's made that statement and he put that online. Now he's going to be the Democratic nominee. So there is a resurgence about the socialism, and that's becoming more and more part of it. And now there's more. It's like a marriage of the Palestinian, the anti-ICE, the abolish ICE, and now turning it in to like an orgy of socialism here. And that's sad, because it's supposed to be about labor, like unions. I'm a proud pro-union Democrat, but the kinds of mess that you see are showing up in many of them. I mean, that is the worst impulses that our party continues. We just seems to can't resist those things.
So you agree with Senator John Fetterman that we should be concerned about a communist takeover in the Democratic Party? Of course, we have been watching as radicals like squad members AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib have worked their way into the Democratic Party, who have incubated there and have activated their socialist comrades to engage in takeovers across the United States. And of course, they are backed by the Democratic Socialists of the USA, or DSUSA. And there are no kidding socialists in our major cities right now. And you can list Karen Bass in Los Angeles, about Brandon Johnson in Chicago, and of course, Zohra Mamdani in New York City. And you can also add Mayor Wu in Boston as another socialist. So we're seeing our cities being taken one by communists. This is not hyperbole. This is political reality. So when Fetterman says there's a small communist takeover in Maine, well, he is understating the problem drastically. There is an orgy of socialism, and that's in his own party. So Fetterman is right about that.
Joins me now. Senator Kennedy, Elizabeth Warren says that's her kind of man. Is that your kind of man?
Well, I haven't met the gentleman. I actually prefer women to men, but to each his own. The article you quoted was the New York Times, and it is the New York Times. They slam back a lot of lattes there, and sometimes ingest too much caffeine. But the point of the New York Times, I think, is that every party has factions, and the faction in control of the Democratic Party is what I call the Loon Wing, or the Karen Wing. Some call it the Socialist Wing. Its leaders are Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, Mayor Mondani. Elder statesman is Bernie Sanders. Mr. Plattner is a member. They have deeply weird beliefs. They think that kids should be able to change genders at recess. A lot of the Lunars hyperventilate on their yoga mats if you use the wrong pronoun. They think cops are a bigger problem than criminals. They believe in open borders, which is why they want to defund ICE. That's what we're fighting over right now in Washington, D.C. They're angry. A lot of the Lunars, they post in all caps. They're motivated.
So he is doing a service to Democrats by calling out Code Pink, which of course is tied to the CCP in China, anti-ICE radicals and pro-Palestinian protesters, which we can now say is the Democratic Party base. And they're all being financed by billionaires and pushing radical ideas that have nothing to do with our constitutional republic. So Fetterman, who still calls himself a pro-union Democrat, said he's proud of that part of the party who can't ignore the worst impulses that are taking over, such as socialism, open borders, and extreme activism. So when he's calling out Plattner, who has a tattoo many recognize as a Nazi symbol, and he's trying to explain it away by blaming his time in the military, well, we have to pay attention because this is not a right-wing extremist or a news influencer or even a Fox News media personality saying that this is a problem. This is a Democratic senator who wants to preserve our American constitutional republic for generations to come and not have communists like Plattner in office. So we saw the Democratic Party celebrating May Day and embracing socialism openly. This is a warning sign to America. So we need to reject that these foreign principles that are tyrannical and unconstitutional have no place in our republic. And the Democrats who are embracing these foreign ideas, they need to be called out. And it's good to see at least one Democrat doing that, John Fetterman. So what do you think about this story? Do you think John Fetterman is right? Do you agree with him on things like this and also wonder why he doesn't back the Save America Act? Well, that's my point of view on it as well. But this is Kyle Becker, and thank you very much for watching at Explain America. If you're a politics junkie who loves fantasy stories like Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, be sure to check out my new novel, Hypernia, The Cursed Kingdom. It's currently sitting at 4.5 stars on Amazon, so be sure to check that out.